That's hot.
Thanks.
Can I keep that in there?
Yeah. Felt kind of silly doing it, but now that you say that, I feel pretty good about it.
Oh. I need more questions, I guess. Tell me more about the damn truck.
It's going to be a shitty podcast if that's all my story.
We'll start with the introduction.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, I'm Tony Bierke, and known Elijah for 20 however many years. We were in a band together, Wicked Darling, and this is my first car.
Yeah, we've known each other 20-some years.
Yeah, probably.
now.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we met?
I believe it was at Joker's, maybe before it was Joker's.
Okay.
And I knew who you were for quite a while before that, but just kind of introduced myself then when I started doing recording and stuff at the... Oh, yeah, so it had to have been Joker's if I was doing... No, maybe it was just there was a show down there. And then we just kind of started talking when we'd run into each other at the shows, and then you were telling me about this little project you had going on with Carly and Birch and Schweitzer, and so I was like, yeah, I got to get in on that.
God, that was such a fun time, too.
Yeah.
And that band was really fun.
Yeah, my favorite thing about it was how we fed off of each other, and everything just came so natural. Writing songs, they just flew out.
Yeah. God, that was nice. I miss that.
Yeah.
I do. What was your first car?
So it was a 63 Ford pickup. It was mint green, well, half mint green and half rust patina. So it wasn't rusty. It was that really old... It was rusty, but it was like more of a finish to it. And when I was a kid, I thought it was just, I had this old truck that I didn't really care about.
They're rolling and they're moving fast. They're the new Ford Trucks 460 with certified economy, coming off the assembly lines and onto the highways, heading for Ford dealers all over America.
And it was my dad's uncle's farm truck. And his selling point on it was there's up in the back corner, welded to the top of the box right by the end gate, there's this metal plate welded there that he said you can mount a bench vise to here. And 16-year-old me was like, what the fuck do I want a bench vise for? And now that's all I want in the world, to be able to put a bench vise on my truck.
63.
Yeah.
Damn, it's old.
Yeah. And it was, I think, 92 that I got it. So... back then they didn't have the greatest suspension in vehicles. Like the suspension was your seat. Like the seat was so springy, you just like bounce over when you go over bumps and just kind of keep bouncing a little bit after the bumps got over. And so when we got it, it was just full in the back of scrap metal and just greasy scrap metal and shit from around the farm. So we had to bring that out and turn that into the scrap yard, and then I had to scrape grease out of the back of it. And then my dad made me wash and wax it, which I thought was the dumbest thing back then. I was like, it was just pointless, but totally see the value in it looking back now.
Right.
Just mad at the time that I had to do it. Well, then the day
and Daniel's son.
Yeah. And so the day I got my license, it was still parked in the backyard. And I remember coming home right away and asking Dad if I could take the truck out. And he said no. I'm like, what? I just got my license. Why not? And I was just mad the whole day. Well, then I had a Boy Scout meeting later that night. So I just got in it and went then. And went half hour early and just went for a drive. And it was like the most free feeling I've ever had. Like just being out in my truck, and pretty new to driving a stick shift. And I was right around where the grunge scene just kind of started. And I was big into that. Like I'd wear my Boy Scout shirt unbuttoned with a t-shirt underneath it, like they did with the flannels. And everything was Seattle. I always talked about Seattle. And so I was obsessed with it even back then. And, so my dad put a tape deck in there for me, and didn't really quite wire it right. It was just wired directly to the battery. So he put a little toggle switch in there that I could turn it on and off. And if I forgot to turn it off, it would kill the battery.
Oh, wow.
So first tape, really sweet little tape deck, and the speakers were, I can't remember if they're under the seat or behind the seat. But my first tape, and there was Soul Asylum, Grave Dancers Union. And that's what I remember driving around listening to. And then after that, it was all the Pearl Jam and Nirvana. And so I drove around for a while that night and went to my meeting, just stupid, like permanent grin on my face, like all night long at the meeting. I couldn't wait for the meeting to get over, so I go drive around a little bit more.
How old are you
At that point, 16.
You got your license at 16?
Yep.
On the first try?
Yes. Permit I had to do twice for my permit, but the license, I got it on the first try.
What vehicle did you use for your test?
What did I use? I used my mom's minivan, the Ford Aerostar.
It was your grandpa's car?
It was my dad's uncle, lived down by Fort Ransom. And
So great uncle.
Yep.
And was he using it frequent?
Yeah, they used it to like go out and fix fence and stuff, and that's why they had the mount for the bench vise on there.
Okay.
So it was just a beater utility truck that they'd go drive around out to fix fence or whatever.
You didn't have to pay for it?
It was $100. And looking back now, like we sold it when it stopped kind of running great, and I didn't know anything about cars and didn't have any money to put into it, so we just sold it. And I just often wish that I still had that truck.
Yeah.
Especially that bench vise mount.
God, just a big, heavy piece of metal.
Yeah, solid.
And besides being dirty and old, almost 30 years at that point, everything was running good, looked good, body.
Kind of.
I mean, the rust and whatnot, but I mean...
It ran, but it burned a lot of oil, and I used to joke that it burned more oil than gas. So it was like really smoky, like blue smoke everywhere I'd go. So another joke we had was that every time we'd go fishing, I'd keep the mosquitoes away every time I'd pull up.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of my friends was a little rednecky, and he taught me how to like pop the clutch and peel out around corners. So one went around a corner and peeled out and like slid into a curb, and was just like, oh shit. Well, then this dude comes out of the house. He's like, I know who your dad is. And I'm gonna tell him. And we were just freaking out. I'm like, I just started driving, and I'm not good with the stick shift. And Dad never heard anything about it, I guess. But
You damn kids. Cheese it.
But yeah, then I could, go out and go fishing wherever I wanted to. I used to be limited by where I could go on my bike. So it was just, the couple dams in Valley City. But then once I got that, then I could go down to Catherine or Fort Ransom or up to the lake, wherever I would want to go.
Yeah, you talk about that freedom. That is such a game changer, when you get your own vehicle at that age.
Yep. Learning to drive the stick shift was rough, though. I'm so glad I did. Very glad I have that knowledge now. I mean, not that they make stick shifts anymore, but Dad took me out on a gravel road kind of up by Lake Ashtabula, and he drove out there, and once we got over to the gravel, we pulled over, and he kind of explained how things go, where you like slowly let off the clutch. And it was not smooth at all. It was just like jerk back and forth, and threw him around pretty good for a while before I kind of got used to it. And we drove until I could, start out fairly smooth. And then it took me a little while after I started driving all the time to really get smooth with it. But I really like driving that stick shift.
Yeah, to learn stick on a dirt road.
Yep.
That's interesting. Were you packing your friends? Picking up people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'd pack them in the back, and you could fit 3 comfortably up front, 4 if you squished, and then however many you can squeeze into the back. Because nobody really cared if you drove around in the bed back then.
They're bringing new style, new toughness, new comfort, new ways to save. For example, this new bigger rear axle for Ford's 2-ton trucks, now rated for 1,300 pounds more payload.
How long did you have the car for? Truck?
Let's see, 2 years maybe.
You drove it right into the ground.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was running pretty rough when I got rid of it, and didn't have the money to put into it, and I wanted something different, and then I got an actual car next time, and was a little bit more happy with that. And Yeah.
How old does a car have to be considered a classic
I don't know.
from the current date?
I think if it's 50 years old, you can get the, what are they called? The plates.
Yeah, those white ones.
Yeah. Pioneer plates. No.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it was just back then. It was just an old junky truck.
Yeah, that's funny.
But like all my friends in high school and stuff, the ones that were into trucks, you know, they all had all the 1960s, 1970s Chevy trucks, and that's just what everybody drove because you could get them for $100 back then, and they're easy to work on, and there's so much room in mine that I could climb inside the hood to work on shit if I had to.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's impossible. It's like they make it on purpose. Like you can't fix your own vehicle.
Yep.
It's weird.
And all the computer stuff in there that, you know, one little chip goes bad and there's $1,000 bill right there.
Yeah, I've had that happen. That sucked.
Mm-hmm.
God. Yeah, 1,000 something. I think it was like $1,200.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I didn't really take it too far. I might have went to Fargo a few times to go to the comic book store there. Well, I guess the big trip that I took all the time was, so we didn't have a McDonald's in Valley City at the time. So like when my friends who got their license before I do, once in a while we'd go drive over to McDonald's just for chicken nuggets and drive all the way to Jamestown. Well, then after I got that, then I started going and get my own chicken nuggets. The thing to do was to cruise, and that was like when gas was 99 cents a gallon, so you could, you know, afford to go drive around all night long. And but that's just what we did, like up and down Central and Main Street, and that would get old for a while. And then once we got really sick of that, then we'd go drive gravel roads and just get lost and find our way back and learn my way around Barnes County that way.
Man, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's such a different type of freedom too, that country driving.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, don't have to deal with anybody else except for the occasional farmer, and just go out and do your thing. No
accidents?
Not with that one.
Is this way later or second car?
Second car, and then I also had a 64 Ford Galaxy that my grandparents bought me for $300, and it was so awesome. Like, that's one I wish I had again too, that you could fit 8 comfortably in there, 4 up front, 4 in the back. It was a 4-door, but I went to work, and as I was leaving for work, I worked up in Hope and started getting up there, and it was snowing really bad, and I was like, well, fuck this shit. And I turned around, went back, and on my way back, I slid on the interstate, and there's guardrails on both sides of me, and I went to one guardrail, then to the other side, hit the other one, and then back over. So, and that was solid steel too. So I dinged up all the quarter panels on that and drove that for a while till that started not running great. Another one I wish I had to this day.
Damn. Good thing that guardrail held up. Holy shit.
Here's Ford's gas-saving 6, the engine that beat all competition in Economy Showdown USA. Half-ton pickup or a giant highway hauler, the 1960 Fords are bringing you the best of the new.
Of your group, who was first to have their license?
Pat, and it was a Dodge Omni, and he would peel out with it, like he would put it in neutral and just rev the shit out of it and then just jam it down and drive and peel out with it. That thing didn't last too long, and then he got a Mustang with a sunroof, and that thing was wild. Like, we'd drive around, and CBs were really big at the time too. I also had a CB in my truck. So
what? Yeah,
so that was our cell phones back in the day, was CBs, and like all my friends had them.
What, really?
Yeah, and we'd play hide and seek with them. So, you know, you got the little meter on there where it'll tell you, like, your signal strength.
Okay, and so you kind of can tell the range?
Yep. So,
what was the range on that?
I don't know, get all the way across Valley City. So, like, you'd get, like, 10 minutes to go find a spot to hide, and then you'd, like, talk on the radio, and you just talk to each other, and then you just slowly drive around and find, like, where your signal is getting stronger or weaker, and then drive up to, and you could most of the time find exactly where they were.
That is so weird. I've never heard that. That is cool. How much is a CB?
I don't know. You can probably get one for 50 cents now.
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll probably give them to you if you take the whole box of them. I see them at rummage sales once in a while. I kind of think about it. I was like, who the fuck else is going to put a CB in? Right. And then everybody hears what you're saying.
Yeah. How many channels were on that?
Oh, I don't even remember. I think 19 was the trucker channel, which I think we went on 21.
Anybody else like pop up and you're like, who the fuck is this?
No, you could usually recognize who people were.
Oh, I suppose.
But
you ever think people were listening to you guys?
oh yeah, so you just kind of watch what you're saying. I mean, you can be dumb, but people who are not on there and know you aren't going to know who you are.
Yeah.
But there's a whole group of there's my group of friends that we were on, and then there was like a group like a trucking family that were on a channel too, and so we'd flip back and forth from our channel to their channel and visit with them, or go do our thing. But yeah, that's how we found each other back in the day. Breaker 19. So back to the CBs. My buddy Pat, like when he got the Mustang, that's when he put a CB in there. He also had a little PA speaker that he hooked up underneath the hood that we used to like yell at people when we were going by and stuff. Then we'd listen to Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood, and there's one song on there that has like police sirens, like a chase, and then you hear this loud crash. So we'd key the mic and put it up to the speaker and have people just looking. Our store in Valley City was Palmyra. And,
oh, yeah.
And that was where I got my music from. And Palmyra was on one end of the town, and I lived on the other end of town. It was probably 3-4 miles maybe, but when like something new would come out and my mom wouldn't take me, I would just take off walking. And there's many times, like I remember the first time I walked out to get something was the Spin Doctor's Pocket Full of Kryptonite. And the second thing was Pearl Jam Versus. We just got back from Boy Scout camp, and had a friend of mine that had a CD player, and he let me listen to it, and I just listened to that thing on repeat like the whole way home from Minnesota. As soon as I got home, got cleaned up and stuff, and then just took off walking for Palmyra.
What the hell was Palmyra? Grocery store?
No, it was like a little teeny tiny mini small town Walmart.
Okay, yeah. We had one in Williston too. Mm-hmm. And I loved going there because I know you could get action figures. It was probably the only aisle I ever went to, but it was big enough to feel like a small grocery store, at least with aisles. But like as a kid, I never knew exactly what it was. Mm. And then one day it was gone.
Yep.
I don't know if they all shut down or what the hell happened.
That was back in the day when they put price tags on things. And I remember there's some G.I. Joe vehicle that was like 20 whatever the hell bucks, and I like peeled the sticker off and like peeled another sticker that was like $5.99 and put it on there, and you could tell that it was like all peeled and stuff, but they busted me. But I was young then. That was probably
nice try though.
Yeah.
What was it? The USS Flag?
Oh, I don't remember. It was
that thing was like $300. No, that had to be more.
The aircraft carrier?
Yeah.
No, it definitely wasn't that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one of the tiny vehicles. It was like more of a mid-sized one.
Yeah, like helicopter or...
It might have been that vertical takeoff and landing one.
Okay.
Where it had like 2 jets on the side that spun. So now this is going to be a podcast about G.I. Joes out at Palmyra.
Tests like this by independent experts confirm the economy of Ford's modern engines. And the result is certified gas savings. Tests certified by independent experts establish the extra toughness of the truck parts that get the most abuse. Result, certified durability.
I'm so enthralled with the CB part aspect of that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It kind of blows my mind. Like early 90s. What year are you kind of talking?
This would have been 92.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I got my first CV at Brothers 3, which is a gas station in Valley City that some of my dad's friends owned. And they had like a little mini Radio Shack in there. And I think I got this CB for like $25 and a little magnet mount antenna that I had to slam in the door. So that antenna didn't last very long, but had to get a new one every once in a while.
Because it would just fall off?
Well, no, it was, the cord would like slam in the door.
So
I never drilled a hole through it to get it up.
Yeah.
You'd have to drill a pretty good sized hole to get that connector through. So I just put it through the door.
And just slam it through the door?
Yep. Oh, I did put dingle balls in it, like those little red dingle balls around the right above the windshield and around the windows.
I know dingleberries.
No, it definitely wasn't dingleberries, but it was so I was really big into Cheech and Chong when I was younger too.
Oh yeah, like those mini,
yeah.
but like a disco ball type thing.
No, it was just like a little fuzzy ball.
Oh, okay.
And it was like on a big ribbon, and then there's like hundreds of these little balls hanging by a little ribbon.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought they were so cool, and I hung them up in there.
What else did you add to it to make it like give it your flavor?
Don't know. I didn't really have much flavor.
Where'd you
back
put
then.
those balls? Like, is that like something that hangs above the?
You want to know where I put those balls?
Yeah, where'd you put your balls at? Tell me all about that.
I can't even remember it was some kind of putty that I stuck them up there with, and they'd like fall down once in a while, and you'd have to like stick them up in this corner or that corner, and I think it was like poster putty or something I hung it up with, because it was like an all metal interior on the roof, so shit just kind of stuck to it. I don't even remember where I found these things, but I was so excited when I found them and went home and stuck them in, and I felt pretty cool with them in there.
They had that in Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I think he was maybe talking about his car to somebody and like pointed him out or something, but every car they drove had them in there.
You were a Boy Scout?
Yeah, from the time I could be till the time I couldn't be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you be?
Because I turned 18.
Don't they do Eagle?
No, you have to finish up your Eagle by the time you're 18.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I did more fucking off than anything when I was there, but I learned a lot from it. And we used to go to Camp Wilderness in Minnesota every year. Was our summer camp, and they'd have like merit badge classes and stuff that we were supposed to take, and I skipped them so many times. Like I'd maybe come home with a couple of merit badges, because they had 2 different lakes there that we would always want to fish at, and the one lake, there's a little canal in between them, and we'd go out into the littler lake where nobody could see from the camp, and we just walk out into the water and just go catch sunfish for hours.
Camp Wilderness.
Yep.
Where's this by?
It's by Park Rapids, Minnesota.
Okay. Wait, you would go from North Dakota to Minnesota?
Yeah.
And did you ever like fight other Boy Scout troops?
Well, so that we had one kind of rival troop that they kept messing with me. Like I was always bigger than everybody, but didn't really stick up for myself and got kind of bullied a little bit. And there's this one troop that kind of bullied me. So and there's black bears at this camp. So at breakfast one morning, I was just sick of it and got a second bowl of oatmeal because it was just thick, nasty shit. We just mixed a ton of like brown sugar and raisins in there and wrapped it up in a napkin. Went over by where their campsite was and threw it in the trees over there. And the next day they were talking about, you guys got to be careful with your food and stuff. There's a bear in this camp last night. And we just laughed our asses off. Yes.
Good thing it was just black bears. Could have had some kids eating.
Yeah. I was mad.
Yeah.
I was always really into music when I was really, really little too. I remember my dad got my mom a stereo with a double tape deck in there. So then I got the stereo that had the 8-track record player and the radio in there up in my room. And they made blank 8-track tapes. So I was making mixtapes off the radio when I was like 3-4 years old. I heard a song I liked and wanted to keep it. And so I had just tons and tons of these, and that's what I would do when I was a kid, is just sit up in my room and listen to the radio.
You can make mixtapes on 8-track?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Some of them you can like record. You'd have to like hold the record button in and then push the tape in, and then it would just record whatever was going on the radio, or you could record off of a record to the 8-track.
Could you ever record over like a pre-recorded one, like how you could do with a cassette? You just knock out those tabs?
Yep. Oh, there's no tab to knock out.
You could just re-record over it.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So then that's all I would do, is just sit up in my room and listen to music. So I had like a bunch of different musical awakenings throughout my life, and the 90s was the biggest. Like the whole Seattle scene was just, blew my mind. Like it was a whole different, because like I grew up listening to Y94, which was like Bismarck's Y93. So it was like all the pop stuff, and it was, some good stuff, some sucky stuff. It's not all shitty stuff like it is now. And then that stuff, the 90s stuff, started coming out, and I was really big into MTV when I was a kid too. Mm-hmm. Like I remember watching it day one, like in 81 when it came out, and I had a babysitter that used to always like to watch MTV. Like that's all that was on in the house. And I remember it was 4th of July one time, and she had brought some fireworks with her, and I wanted to go out and shoot fireworks. And she's like, no, you got to wait till the rocket ship comes off. So I'd just sit and wait for that rocket ship. Then we'd go outside and light a couple fireworks, and then come inside and watch some more music videos.
Old school MTV.
Yeah.
I like those commercials, too, they had
Yep.
with the MTV as like a monster thing.
Yep. I watch some of them on YouTube once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, just for a little dose
Yep.
of nostalgia. So when you got into music, you're listening to a lot of grunge and rock.
Yep.
When did you start picking up the bass?
When I was 18. So I just graduated high school, and I had all this graduation money that I was supposed to use for college, and never went to college. So thank God I went to on-the-job university to be an electrician. And I'm one of the last apprentices that got grandfathered into where I didn't have to take any schooling for it. So got lucky that way, but had all this graduation money, and a buddy of mine had picked up a guitar, and he was just naturally good, like right away. And so like him and I went to Fargo one day, and I was like, all right, I need to get a bass. And so I went and kind of looked, and I had this red Hohner bass, and it was just like the back of the neck was red, the headstock was red, everything was red. I fucking hate red, but I got this thing, and I come home, and I bought a little amp for like $15 from my buddy, and all it had on it was a volume knob. And I'm sitting there playing. I remember my dad coming home from work, and he's just kind of mad when he saw it. But I realized later that he was probably mad because he didn't get to come with and help me pick it out, because my dad used to play guitar too. And my family's kind of musical. And so after he like looked at it and decided that, yeah, it's not such a bad thing, I asked him if he'd teach me how to play Down on the Corner, and he just picked it up and just started playing it. Probably hadn't played his guitar. I don't know if he's ever played a bass, but hadn't played his guitar in however many years. Like I heard him play guitar one time in my whole life, and he just starts playing Down on the Corner, the bass line, and I was pretty impressed by that.
That's cool. Why bass?
It just always spoke to me. Like in Sweet Child of Mine was my very first song that I realized that I was listening to the bass to. And when I'd listen to a song, I listened to the music as a whole, but the bass is kind of what drove me. And like you can just feel that that's holding down the rhythm. And Sweet Child of Mine, most people when they listen to it will focus on Slash's, harmonic or guitar line.
Yeah.
But for me, I heard Duff's driving intro, and it just lit me up. And that was when I was in 6th grade. So it wasn't until after I graduated from high school that I actually got to play bass. But there's some friends of mine, friends of friends, were in a band when I was like in 9th, 10th grade. And I think I was over at their practice space once and picked up the bass one time and played it without an amp. And I don't know, just the feel of it, and just the way it fills up the air. Like you don't even have to do anything fancy, and you just fill space.
Yeah.
But I like to be the vehicle for somebody else to, I like to be the road that whatever singer's going to drive on, and just be a good foundation for what everything else is doing. Don't really do anything fancy. I just like to hold down a good rhythm.
I noticed that about you too when we were playing. I felt like I never had much to offer, like a couple of riffs here and there, but sometimes you would sit back, and I don't know how you would do it. You would almost drive me to be creative.
Yeah, we really fed off of each other.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I never did. That was about the time when I was taking bass lessons from Doug Klein, and I still don't quite get music theory, but I know enough that if we talked about it, I would know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I was just starting to learn stuff, and like when you would go up a scale, I would go down, and we'd like meet in the middle, and it was just this. I don't know. It was awesome. I really enjoyed playing with you.
Yeah, same. One day again, my friend.
Yep.
We shall.
Yeah.
Yes, the new Ford trucks with certified economy are here, and you can see them at your Ford dealers. Get all the facts on certified economy, and you'll come out ahead.
I don't know shit about cars either. You know, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm just, people have good stories and I like to listen. For a guy that has a podcast, I don't like to talk, but I do like to listen.
Yeah.